fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. You got Craig and TK and Head that deep, tune in at the fish report.
Coming to you live from Studio F in Russia, Ohio. It's the Fish Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Fish Report Live. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Craig Fissinger. That is Ken Francis. We're your host. Back in the sound room this morning. TK is back after being off for a couple weeks. Glad to have him back. We'll talk to him a little bit later in the program. But Heavy D is off, so Ross filling in for Heavy D. We'll get to those guys a little bit later, as we said. And out in studio are Covey and Kearns. Of course, they're always out there. Look forward to talking to them in a few minutes. Ken, another fun morning on FRL. We are absolutely packed this morning.
We are, Craig. We got a lot going on this morning. We got a lot to get through, Craig. We're going to have our listeners eating their breakfast this morning and just can't wait to hear what we're going to talk about next, Craig. And our big interview, I'm going to give you a heads up right now this morning, is going to be with Robb Hemmelgarn, the head coach of the Minster Lady Wildcats softball team, Craig. All he's done this year, Craig, is got his team ranked number 1 in the state of Ohio. They're 18-0 right now. They're leading the MAC. And what a great program he's building over there at Minster. He's in his 3rd season, and he's got a game, like I said, ranked number 1, Division 4 in the state of Ohio. Looking forward to talking to Coach Hemmelgarn here in just a few minutes. And Craig, then we're going to go out to talk to Covey Kearns. They're going to give us a softball update. I'm going to talk a little bit of baseball. You're going to talk track and field. Let's keep it rolling.
All right, well, let's talk some track and field. And I want to start things out here this morning by giving a little shout-out to a Coldwater junior. I've actually watched this junior perform the last couple weeks. A couple Tuesdays ago, I was over at Coldwater for a quad meet, a home meet, and they have a pole vaulter over there by the name of Jessica Brake. And she was going up against one of the better Division II pole vaulters in the area, Ken, and Lucy Prakel. We've talked about her before. Lucy won that event, but Jessica came back. There's a picture of her on our monitor right now. She came back this past Tuesday at St. Henry and not only won the event, but she set a new Coldwater girls record, vaulted 11 foot 3 inches. Wow. So it was a great day for her. Glad to see that. She actually vaulted herself into the number 5 spot in the Southwest region right now in Division II. So congratulations to her. Congratulations to that school record. And actually going to get to see Jessica again this Friday because she's going to be performing at the New Bremen Cardinal Invitational. I know you've been there many times.
Been there.
And, she's going to be there with her Lady Cavs, and there's going to be a lot of talent there on Friday. Athletic Director Gary Jones over there at New Bremen does an excellent job of putting that event on. Always look forward to it. And I tell you what, if there's one event that you want to see there, I'll tell you right now, it's the girls' 100 hurdles. They've got I think we got a picture for our monitor here of 4 girls last year that were in that race. These girls are all back, Ken. The one on the left there, that's Shelby Gear from over in Coldwater. Then you got Hannah Shoemaker from Anna, both Division II girls, both very good hurdlers. And then a couple Division 3 girls and Adriana Judy there from Botkins and also Aubrey Toby from Marion Local. Those 3 girls on the right are all seniors. Shelby's actually a junior, but if you want to see one event, that's the one to see. Hopefully all 4 of those girls will be competing in that event because they are very good, and that is definitely going to be one to watch. But again, the New Bremen Cardinal Invitational there, a very fun event on a Friday night. Always goes kind of late. I know they got kind of a tradition over there, too, of some rain and some cold weather sometimes.
Been there through a lot of cold winter or cold spring, rainy, sleet and snowy nights, Craig. But you're right. It's a great track meet over there at New Bremen High School.
Yeah, so looking forward to that, and hopefully I'll have a full report on that next week. But let's talk a little baseball, Ken. I know we want to talk some Shelby County Athletic League baseball, maybe a little bit of MAC, but big news came out yesterday. Bryant Billing over there at the Sydney Daily News broke that a long time coach in the area is going to be retiring.
Yes, he is, Craig. Coach King from the Lehman Cavaliers, retiring after 40 years in baseball. You know, he had a long stint with the Sydney Yellow Jackets, coached a couple years with the Jackson Center Tigers. I think he's in his 12th or 13th year with the Lehman Cavaliers, Craig. He's been around so long, Craig, I remember playing against Coach King. When we had Coach John Hefner at Russia, Coach King over at Sydney, had a lot of fun games against him. He's done a tremendous job with the kids throughout his 40-year program. So congratulations to Coach King on his retirement. And talking high school baseball, Craig, talking Shelby County Athletic League baseball, not a whole lot has changed this past week. Mother Nature has not quite cooperated. I'm not sure they're going to cooperate tonight either, or maybe the next several days. So some of these teams may have trouble getting in some games. A lot of rain in the forecast. But the Fort Laramie Redskins, Craig, they just continue to roll. They're sitting at 16-0 right now. Just a great baseball team. We've talked about them all year. And, that's defending D4 state champs, Craig. They're going to be tough to knock off. Anna Rockets, Houston, Russia right there in the middle of the pack. So, and then Jackson Center as well. So, like I said last week, Craig, a lot of decent baseball teams in the Shelby County League this year. A lot of balance across the board.
Let me ask you a question, Ken. So Fort Laramie at 16-0 right now, playing as well as you can play. Mm-hmm. The question becomes, and I heard this question a couple times this week, is it beneficial for them to maybe to get beat, to have a loss coming up here?
These kids are resilient, Craig. They don't want to lose. I mean, they've got no intentions of losing. I don't think a loss will help them.
It doesn't take the pressure off or the target off your back, so to speak.
They've got a target on their back, Craig, so big if they lose a game or two, it's not going to matter. So, they do have the baseball program in the area this year. They've proven it. They've beaten everybody. If somebody knocks them off, yeah, it may take a little bit of the pressure off of an undefeated season per se, but come tournament time, Craig, we're only a couple weeks away from tournament. I'm pretty sure the Redskins have no thoughts of losing a baseball game.
Okay, well, I've heard that question, again, posed a couple times this week, and it's an interesting way to look at things, but I agree with you. And as a matter of fact, I think we've talked to some coaches on this show over the years that have said the exact same thing. They want to win every game, that's for sure. Yeah. Well, last week on the show, we had Coldwater coach Brian Harleman on here, and then had a game later that night, a tough game against Fort Recovery. Didn't turn out to be such a tough game. I believe they run-rolled Fort Recovery, but glad the Fish Report jinx didn't kick in on Coach Harleman over there. But let's take a quick look at the MAC standings, and Coldwater sitting in a pretty good position right now. Yeah,
Craig, they started the season 0-3. They've won 13 straight. The MAC's pretty strong this year again, Craig. St. Henry's got a great team. New Bremen, Fort Recovery, Minster, Versailles, even Marion Local, Craig, all very good teams. We took the road trip over to Parkway the other night. I was very impressed with the Panthers. They've got a very sound baseball team as well. So the MAC is pretty tough. And, I didn't mention this when I was talking about Fort Laramie and the Shelby County League, but baseball is a random sport. Unlike any other sport, usually where the dominant team is going to win the game, it's not that way in baseball, Craig. Anything can happen in baseball. So, you cannot, look past, say, a Parkway team or even a Delphi St. John team if you're Coldwater or one of the top teams in the MAC. Same way if you're Fort Laramie Redskins, you cannot look past a team like the Russia Raiders or even the Jackson Center Tigers or somebody like that can play very good baseball at times. So anything can happen in baseball. It's a great sport, and that's why they play the game out.
All right. Actually, I mentioned being at that St. Henry track meet on Tuesday. Got a chance to slip over and watch a MAC game between St. Henry and the Parkway team you just mentioned. Kind of an interesting story. I was sitting there taking pictures, and in the on-deck circle was one of their seniors there, and Riley Deach, and Riley said, "Hey, how do I get on Fish Report?" And I said, "Well, if you do something at the plate," I said, "maybe you'll get on Fish Report." They had runners on second and third. Riley gets up. I think he swung at the first or second pitch, got a double, knocked in 2 runs, got a couple pictures of him. I said, "Hey, you delivered. I'll deliver as well." So got him on Fish Report on Wednesday. So congrats to Riley on a big hit there. And they have a big game coming up tonight against Fort Recovery if they do play with the weather. But St. Henry, they're right behind Coldwater on their heels. So going to be fun to watch that race. All right, well, let's talk a little softball, and for that, we're going to go out to Studio R, check in with Covey and Kearns. Guys, good morning. Got a chance to call that a big Shelby County Athletic League game earlier this week on Monday against Fort Laramie and Russia. That was a fun one there. Came down to the end in that one, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It was a great ending. I was there to watch it. Great display of resilience by the Raiders. Down 4-2 going into the 6th inning. They scratch across 2 runs to tie it up to go into the 7th, and they come in, deliver back-to-back doubles to start the inning. A great resilience by Coach Mullencamp's team. That's a huge win, a huge step forward for try to win their 4th Shelby County Athletic League title in a row.
All right, well, let's take a look at the standings. Tell me where we're at. Tell me what we can expect here. I think tournament draw is actually coming up this weekend, so it's the regular season's getting close to wrapping up, I guess you say.
Yeah, well, Russia and Houston are at the top. They have 1 loss so far. Anna actually has 2 losses. They lost, I believe it was Houston twice, right? Yeah, so they've dropped. They were our early favorite, but they've dropped down to 3rd place. Houston and Russia have pretty 2 on-the-road battles. Russia travels to Anna, and Houston travels to Lormy. So those are 2 tough wins. They got to go on the road. And as well, Jackson Center goes to WG. I can't even remember
Waynesville Goshen.
Waynesville Goshen, my bad. And then Fairlawn travels to Atbakken. So that's the play for tonight. And Russia and Houston are definitely the 2 teams to watch and the 2 games to find.
Yeah, there's coming up in this sectional, there's a lot of great teams to look out for. You look at the Rooster Raiders being at top. You look at Houston, too. Other area teams that you want to look at, Riverside as well. They came and played at Rooster the night, hit 4 home runs. Had one of their girls go 4 for 4 and hit 2 out of the park here. So you got to look out for the Riverside Pirates out of the NWCC. You also got to look for the defending regional champions, the Bradford Lady Railroaders. Despite not having Skip Miller this year, they're still piecing together a fantastic season. The Newton Indians. And then we go up north, and we look at the Minster Wildcats, and we're going to have their coach Robb Hemmelgarn on here in a bit. They might be one of the favorites, and they're just sprinkling in every sport they're winning. They can form a girls lacrosse team, and they're going to be number 1 in the state in it. We've reported on every sport this year, and for sure at the top of every single one, it's been the Minster Wildcats, and you go even softball too. Well, if you remember, they were state runner-ups in 2014. So they do it in everything. Minster probably the area favorite so far to get to Akron to Firestone Stadium there.
All right, guys, great stuff. And you mentioned that Riverside team, Covey. The girl you're referring to going 4 for 4 is a sophomore over there named Jalen Stanley, and she was 4 for 4. Came into the game batting .596, 4 for 4, 2 home runs, a double, and they went into extra innings, and they decided to intentionally walk her. A good call by Coach Mullenkamp there, and she eventually scored the winning run for Riverside. Afterwards, she says, "I was mad they intentionally walked me. She was mad about it." Well,
what do you expect?
What do you expect? You hit 2 home runs, a double, and batting .596. I'd say that was probably a good call by Coach Mullenkamp on that one. But
at least it didn't cost them anything like a state title.
Yeah. Well, she's gonna be one to watch, that's for sure.
Oh, that's still better.
All right, guys, great stuff. Thanks for that. And we're going to talk some more softball, but we're going to take a quick break. Stay right there. When we come back, we're going to talk to Minster coach of the number 1 team in the state, the Lady Wildcats, coming up here, Coach Robb Hemmelgarn.
Said it's time to be home man, but don't go and talk in the motherland. And you were born with heart, raised on pride. This is gonna go wrong through your bloodline. Oh, 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 loaded, bruised, and slain. Oh, 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 pride in this name. When the skies run deep within this blue, false used devised by foolish views. Religious divide among the men create civil war on my family land. Oh, 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 blood and bruised and slain. Oh, 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 pride in this name.
welcome back to the second half of Fish Report Live. Before the break, we were talking some softball, including some MAC softball, Ken, and that brings us to our next guest. He is in his third season as the head coach of Minster softball. During that time, get this, Ken, as Lady Wildcats have an impressive 56 wins versus just 18 losses. More impressive, they're 17-0 right now and ranked number 1 in the state of Ohio. We welcome to the program now Robb Hemmelgarn. Coach, thanks for joining us on Fish Report Live.
Hey, guys, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, Coach, I'm looking at your record here the past 3 years, and if you go back to 2017, your first season, you're 18-11. Last year, you're 21-7, and I just mentioned you're off to a 17-0 start right now. Coach, on this show, we always ask athletes, seniors especially, what have you learned in the last, 2, 3, 4 years? I want to ask you, Coach, after 3 years, what have you learned?
That's a great question, and I told the seniors last night at senior night. The group of seniors we have, and we got 5 of them right now. They're a group that kind of forces you to become a better coach. You want to work hard for them because they work hard for you. And when I started 3 years ago, this group of seniors now, they were sophomores 3 years ago, and coming into that transition, I understood the difficulties they were going to have. So it was kind of a feeling out process. That first year, we had a very, very young team that year. The following year, which was last season, we returned everybody from that team, and like you mentioned, we were a 21-win team that season. Last year, we returned 7 starters this year, and our designated hitter, who's now our right fielder from last year, and it's just the experience pays off so much, and this year it's a little bit less about the X's and O's and more about the mentality of the game and just coming in with the right mindset, and the girls have responded, and they come to work every day.
All right, Coach, listen, I'm a big Twitter guy, and I follow at Minster Softball on Twitter, and I know you're extremely proud of your varsity team, but I had to get this in because I know you're also extremely proud, it seems, of your junior varsity team, and I know they won again on Wednesday night, which actually brought their record, I believe, to 19-1 right now. With their season quickly wrapping up here, it sounds like to me that this junior varsity team is kind of just the extension of your varsity team.
Yeah, we're fortunate that we had 32 girls out for the team this year. It's the third year in a row that we kind of set the record for the number of girls in the high school program. Our varsity right now, we're taking 11 or 12 for varsity games, and so that leaves about between 19 and 21 girls at JV. So it's Coach Doug Bergman and Abby Monin and Mallory Putoff have done an outstanding job of balancing, 20 girls in 9 positions and not necessarily trying to get everybody playing time, but trying to put those right combinations on the field at the right times against the right teams, and they're hitting the ball a ton, and they're having a lot of fun, and we're in a position too. We have 12 freshmen, so we were fortunate to get 5 or 6 freshman games on the schedule where it's just our freshmen playing, but we're playing against other schools' JV teams, and they're having the same success. So in that 19-1 record is combined with, like I said, 5 or 6 freshman games, and those girls are really rolling too and having a lot of fun. And it's been contagious both ways. When we have a good varsity, has a good game, JV will follow up with one, and kind of vice versa. So it's definitely been a lot of fun this season so far.
Coach, good morning. Ken Francis. I want to talk a little bit about the MAC, but here at the Fish Report, obviously, we like to cover a lot of Shelby County League sports, cover a lot of the Shelby County Athletic League softball, but we also rave a lot about the cross-country conference. The CCC, obviously, is very strong in softball. When it comes to the MAC, everybody talks about the MAC. They think about the MAC as it's a football conference, it's a volleyball conference, it's a basketball conference. Nobody really talks about it much as being a softball conference. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, and what are your thoughts on the strength of the MAC when it comes to softball?
Yeah, and historically, as a whole, I don't know. The MAC has had softball as a team-sanctioned sport for probably 20 years, which it seems like a long time, but in reality, the sport has changed so much, even just over the last decade, and I think that we've, like you said, we've had great success in MAC girls sports, whether it's track or cross country or basketball or volleyball. And in those sports, the level that the MAC is ahead of almost everybody else in the state that's kind of what the CCC is in softball. They've been doing it a long time. They have a lot of coaches there with many years of longevity at their school, and they've all really built great programs, going against each other, and that sort of feeds off one another. And I think in the MAC right now, we've got a handful of great coaches, and I think we're also starting to kind of feed off one another, and we're getting coaches that have been there more of an extended period of time now. So, I think in time we can get to that level. It's just, the schools we're scheduling up. We're scheduling bigger schools. We're scheduling those CCC schools, and as a group, we're trying to get to that level, and hopefully we'll be up there someday. At that, we're not too far away, and I think that the competitiveness amongst each other carries over from other sports, and it's the same way in softball.
Coach, let's talk about some of the individual talent on your team. You're led by 5 seniors. 4 of those seniors happen to be taking their talents to the next level to play college softball. Can you tell our listeners a little bit this morning about who those seniors all are and where they might be going to college?
Sure. I'll go in alphabetical order. We, like you mentioned, we got 5 seniors. It's been a group that's all 5 of them have been varsity starters since their freshman year. That freshman year, like I said, we had a very young team. It had 5 freshman starters. It had 4 sophomore starters that year. So very young team that year, and they took their lumps, but they didn't get frustrated, and they grew with the process. And I'll start with Lindsay Albers. She's our third baseman. She's been a 4-year third baseman for us, and she's an outstanding third baseman. She's fearless. She plays with that tenacity on defense that you want out of your third baseman. She's going to Edison State next year, so a few more weeks with her, hopefully, and then she's heading to Pickwood to Edison State. Danielle Barhorse, she's not playing college softball, but she is playing volleyball at Sinclair. She's an all-4 starter, center fielder for us. Outstanding speed, outstanding arm strength, range. She's a great hitter. Just an all-around outstanding player that you want to have, as kind of the captain of the outfield and center field. Taylor Holman, she is, again, keep myself another 4-year starter for us. Shortstop, she's going to John Carroll University in Northeast Ohio. This girl has played a lot of ball in her life. She's played probably 10 years of Tennessee ball with some high-level organizations, and she loves the sport. She works hard. She's a 3-time first-team All-MAC performer. Voting hasn't happened for this year yet, but no reason I don't believe she shouldn't be a 4-year first-team player for All-MAC. So then we go on to Carly Richards. She's a 4-year second baseman for us. Another, one of those leaders on the field. She was a leader on the basketball court this year. She's a 2-time state champion in girls basketball, and she just has that knack, just like all shooters do, with that leadership ability. And she's going to join Lindsay Albers and go to Edison State as well to play softball. And then last year, Nobleman's 4-year pitcher for us, first team All-MAC last year. She's going to be going to Sinclair to play softball, and she's one that's really, again, taken her pitching game and her mental approach to the game to a different level this season, and that's what leads to a lot of our success on defense as well.
Coach, I got one more question before I turn it back over to Craig here. You got a big game tonight. You take on a team from the Ohio Valley Conference, who is also actually a very traditionally rich conference when it comes to girls softball. You take on the West Liberty Salem Tigers. They come in at 13-6. It's probably, I would expect, going to be one of your tougher challenges of the year. What do you know about them, and what do you expect to see from the Tigers?
Definitely, like you said, they're from a softball-rich tradition in softball in their conference, and I'm looking through their schedule and the teams they're playing, the Mechanicsburgs and the West Jeffersons, and they had Greenville on the schedule earlier this year. It's a program that we've played for a few years now, and it seems like every year we play them, scheduled to play them in Minster, it rains. So it seems like we're going there every time we play. Forecast isn't real good for tonight, so we'll see what happens with that. But we know they're going to be a challenge. They're a program that, they're very well coached. They have great softball-minded girls in their program, and like I said, we've played them for a couple of years, and it's always good to have them. We played before tournaments. It's kind of a barometer for us of, where we got to take our level here in the next couple weeks, and they're always a challenge and a fun team to play. So hopefully the weather cooperates, and we can get a good game in before the tournament here starts up in a couple weeks.
Yeah, Coach, the forecast is a little rough here for the next few days, and I do hope you get your game in here tonight. And then you have, of course, coming up on Friday, you have the annual Horseman Classic over there that you host. Always a fun event. I know it's been you've had to deal with weather certain years on that, but can you tell us who's at the Horseman Classic this year? And I believe you play like a double header. Is that right on Friday?
Yep.
Yeah, what and I guess to finish that question, I want to ask you what, the person that's named after, Katie Horseman, what has she meant to the school there as far as softball goes?
Absolutely. Well, I'll go to the first part of that question. It's the 6th year that we've held the Katie Horseman Classic, and obviously it's always been us, and we've had a variety of teams over the years. For the last couple of years, 2 consistents have been Bradford and Russia. Last few years before this year, Toledo Christian would come down and play, and they elected not to play in it this year, so we send an invite out to Versailles. So they're coming Friday as well, and so we got some CCC, some SCAL, and some MAC mixed in there. I really like the local flavor of that. It's teams that are all familiar with each other. We open the night on our varsity diamond at 6 o'clock against Bradford. And then Versailles and Russia will play on the diamond adjacent to that at the same time. And then the winners play each other on the varsity diamond, and the losers of those first 2 games will play the second game at 8 o'clock as well over on the other diamond. So, again, 3, we've seen Russia this year. We've seen Versailles. We know what Bradford brings. We talked about the CCC, and they were state semifinalists last year, and we know what they're going to bring, and we wanted to start things off and kick things off with them right out of the chute. And it's going to be a great night, great atmosphere, and hopefully a lot of people. Hopefully the weather cooperates. It's always good to play under the lights. The namesake of the tournament, Katie Horseman, was a long-time coach and teacher here at Minster. She is, her name is obviously synonymous with the success of our track and field program. I know she won a state cross-country title back in probably 82, but really, track and field, she's a 8 or 9 time state champion in that, 5 or 6 years in a row in the 70s and 80s. So, but she was also a professional women's softball player, I guess a professional baseball player. I'm sorry. She played in the league that was depicted in the movie A League of Their Own, and she was in the movie for a little bit. And so she has a well-rounded history of athletics in her past, and even though she's, historically the face of the track program here, she's also a big supporter of our softball program. She'll come out and throw the first pitch, and it's a great night. She enjoys it. We enjoy having her, and we're honored to be able to name this tournament in her honor.
All right, Coach, that's great stuff. We appreciate you getting up early this morning. I know you got a big game tonight. Good luck tonight. You got a big weekend, I know, of softball as well. So your girls have done a great job this year. Congratulations on that #1 ranking in Ohio, and keep it up, and best of luck in the postseason.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for you guys for all you do, and glad to come back anytime.
Thanks,
Coach.
All right, take care.
All right. Ken, that Horseman Classic is loaded. I didn't realize all those Versailles and Bradford as well as Russia. And
might have to slide over there and watch them games for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to be in New Bremen for the Invitational. I might have to do the same. So
I might. I know Russia's got a baseball game that night. Maybe after the baseball game, slide over to Minster, watch a little softball action.
Softball under the lights.
All right.
Good stuff. All right. Well, let's get back to the sound room, checking with the guys back there. TK, welcome back.
Thanks. It's nice to be back.
Well, you were on the other side of the world, from what I understand. Anything interesting to bring back to the Fish Report studio?
Tried to catch some baseball games, but couldn't quite work it into the schedule. As you know, baseball is a big game in Japan. That's where I was, but a little bit too busy with work and so forth. But always nice to be over there, and I've seen some baseball games there. They're always fun to go to. A lot of crowd interaction.
All right. Well, we always depend on you for the Shelby County Athletic League Star of the Week. Did you have any time to do some research? I know you've been busy.
Yeah, I did have a little bit of time getting over the jet lag and reoriented here back in this time zone, but have to go to with the hometown Russia Raiders softball. Kendall Monin, Covey and Kearns talked about it before. Big 7th inning double to bring in the runner from second base for the win over Fort Laramie. A very big win for the Raiders and keeps them in first place in that Shelby County race, as we talked about earlier. So, star of the week, Kendall Monin, that big hit there to drive in the winning run.
Good call there, TK.
It was a good call. As a matter of fact, we were calling that game, as we said a little earlier in the program, and it was so loud. I thought I was at a basketball game. I mean, it was just so loud, couldn't even hear myself making the call. But I turned around. I didn't even have a chance to really look in the stands during the broadcast. But turned around, those bleachers were packed with both Russia and Fort Laramie fans, and it was very loud when all that was going on, as well as other times during that game. But what a fun atmosphere for everyone, the girls, the fans, for myself, and special thanks to Robb Hemmelgarn, who helped do a broadcast. I had to kind of talk Robb into. Robb says, I don't have a radio voice. And I said, Robb, you're getting ready to wrap this high school thing up with your kids. I said, you need to call a game. So special thanks to Robb for helping out.
He's got a good face for radio, though. I can tell you that.
You got that right. You got that right. So good stuff there, TK. And Ross, I think we're going to let you off the hook again this week. You know, Heavy D's used to reading the mailbag. We'll save all the mail for him next week if that's okay with you.
That sounds great.
All right. Good job back there, guys.
Good stuff, guys. Thanks for that. And that's going to wrap it up for us here this morning. We do want to say special thanks to Minster coach Robb Hemmelgarn for joining us on the show. Ken and I and the crew, we're all going to be back again next week, same time, same place. Until then, have a great day, everyone.
Hanging at the fish report. 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 For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull when you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report.